It would have been like the John Wick skin. Everybody would have been running
Everybody
the
would
MLK
have
skin.
it. Just imagine getting snuck by MLK in Fortnite.
Doing the Naruto run.
Doing the Naruto run. And then Orange Justice sitting on your body and flossing on you. And you're like, oh no. I had a dream. I had a dream.
The only voice clip in the game.
I have a dream. Wow. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Super Agile Bros. You already know what it is. It's Bradston on the mic. You know what I do. You know what I'm doing. Today is going to be a special episode, as some of y'all know, Brother Steve got married and, he's MIA. We don't even know where he is. We don't even know what's happening. Sorry, I got a little bit southern there, but he's missing. We don't know where he is. So we've got to bring in some of our tried and true that we know can help with us. But before, you know the regulars. We got Kyle in the building. Kyle, tell everybody, hey.
What's going on, everybody?
And introducing the big Rob himself, Rob. What's happening, Rob? Welcome to the show. How are you doing, sir?
Hey, I'm doing good. Just happy to be here. I appreciate y'all letting me on. Talk about some games and things.
Yes. For your first and final show, it's going to be exciting. I'm over here playing him because we were trying to get together on Discord earlier. And we were like, where's Rob at? And, he was there, but he wasn't in the chat, so we just messed with him. But
sneaking around in the shadows, man.
he's just listening through the chat. But if y'all don't know, me and Rob go way back. Goodness gracious.
Yeah, man, way back.
How far? Tell us a little bit about it.
I guess I moved to Georgia in like 95, 96, 97. So when did you and my brother first meet? I don't even know.
We met in 8th grade. So we graduated 01. So it had to be about 96, 97 probably. It was probably like 98. 99 actually. And man, we rode the bus together and that was all she wrote. After that, I found out that he plays video games and that he had brother and sister that like video games too. We used to do Brad, Brad was the one who we would give the broke controller to.
Disrespect. I knew it was coming. And I still get him.
Yeah, he do. He learned a lot from us.
Broke controller.
Yeah, he learned a lot from us. But no, I think that, for me, when I think back on gaming and having fun gaming with friends, those are the people who I think about. Brad and Brandon and their sister Shantae. Like, we played everything that you can think of. Single player games, multiplayer games, it didn't matter. If we were into it, we would sit there and watch. We would take turns. It was the best experience ever.
Yeah, man. I'm over here like darn near tearing up. That was some good times, bro. Like to this day, like there's there are games that I tell people that I've played that I never played. I just watched you and Brandon play them, like a lot of the RPGs or stuff like that, like what's it called? Xenosaga or whatever, I started a little bit of like Xeno, it's just funny because like Final Fantasy VII, I've never fully finished it. I've gotten to the last cave, but I watched y'all play as far as y'all did. And, it's just funny, so definitely those experiences are kind of like, there's nothing like it. And it's funny because, we all grown now and we just living our lives, Some of us got little kids, children.
Just a few of them. I got a few.
We're all just trying to be adults and work and like live life, and it's hard sometimes nowadays. I mean, we all live in different places now, so playing games is different. And today we're going to talk about one of the games that kind of, it's kind of brought me, Kyle, and Rob all together because Kyle and Rob met each other through, I guess, me. Through some of the crazy ideas that I've had in the past and which are not dead. They're coming back one day. BBN is not dead. But BBN. So yeah, man, throwback. But we've played games together. And today we're going to particularly be talking about The Division 2. And also just a little bit about like MMOs and MMORPGs and playing games online, because I feel like yeah, I miss those days where we could all sit in the same couch and like play games together and, you know, what have you. But, you know, life is different. And I feel like the games like Division 2 and you know, games like it are kind of that replacement, you know. So I guess to jump in to get started on the topic, I guess, let me ask you guys, you know, we've all played Division 2. Matter of fact, we've all played it together. So let me ask you guys, and I guess we can start with Kyle. What would you rate the Division 2? Like, you know, I know you guys like it, but what's your rating from 1 to 10, and why would you rate the Division 2 the way that you rate it? So Kyle, let's know your rating.
All right, so that's kind of a tough one because I'm trying to think of like the best way to rate it. You know, as a shooter, I think it's a really good shooter game. Mm-hmm. As a looter shooter, it's okay. You know, the loot as you continue to play kind of breaks down. You know, as an MMO, I don't really get why it's an MMO and why it's considered an MMO. So my rating for that would be kind of low. As a multiplayer game, rating would be high. So I think I just have to kind of give it like an average score of like a 7.5 because, yeah, it's a whole lot of fun, but I don't know. Like if I have to rate it based on its genre, then it's not really doing anything it sets out to do exceedingly well. But for what it is, it's really good. So 7.5 from me.
Okay, solid. 7.5. How about you, Rob?
I kind of agree. I'm thinking around 8 for my score. Just because to me the game is pretty solid just as a game. But like Kyle said, if you're comparing it to what the genre is setting out to do, I don't know if it meets all of those expectations. But I'm someone who has not played a lot of MMOs, and I don't get a lot of time or chances to play MMOs. So I wouldn't be the best one to say what an MMO should be. But to me, just overall fun factor, I can't say that I don't have a good time with it. I would only give it an 8 really because there's things about MMOs in general that just kind of bring me down a little bit. The ongoing gameplay, like just having something where it never really ends, that can just get a little old after a point. And having so many objectives, looking at the map just stresses me out because as soon as I open the map up, it's a million things to go and do. And that can be, I'm sure for some people that's like, yeah, this is my $60 right here. But for me, it's kind of like, man, I only have so much time to do things, and it can just kind of turn me off a little bit. But in terms of fun, man, I can't that's why I introduced it to Brad, because I just felt like it's a pretty fun game, and you guys like Borderlands a lot. So I felt like, man, y'all have to like The Division. It's pretty dope.
Yeah, no, yeah. I mean, so you give it a solid 8 for the most part. Yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm exactly where you guys are, like 7.5, 8, 8.25, you know, whatever, rounded to 8. I feel like I wouldn't say that I'm an MMO person. Like, I don't think it's hard. Like, there's only like one game that I think that I've stuck around for a very, very long time to play, and that was Smash Brothers, particularly Smash Brothers Melee. And I think a lot of it has to do with community. Like, particularly I was playing with like my friends who I, you know, went to school with, or like my roommates or what have you. And like, I felt like getting good, like what motivates me to play a game is like being good at it and having fun with, you know, with my friends or even by myself. So I feel like The Division, like, yeah, Rob put me on it and then I put Kyle on it. And I think the real appeal for me was that it was an MMO that didn't feel like an MMO. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I feel like, you know, back in the day, Rob introduced me to Guild Wars, which is a whole nother
I knew
topic.
we were going to talk about Guild Wars.
Yeah, we're definitely going to talk about Guild Wars. We got to talk about some real MMO stuff. But I think that I really enjoyed Guild Wars because it was new to me. Like I'd never played an MMO at that age. It was like magical and the music and like it looked good and I was like blown away by it all. And as I played it longer, I think the problem I ran into is that the further you got into the game, the more commitment you had to give. And if you stepped away for too long, you never could really come back in and if one of your friends was playing and they were playing for longer than you, you'd come back and then you'd be like, man, like he level 85 and I'm level 12, and I think something the Division does, and this is why I think I really like this game, is that it does that thing where it doesn't matter what level you are, you can all play together and have a great experience, even if you're not like me and Kyle were like level 8 when we were playing with Rob when he was like level 20 something. And I feel like that really was huge to me, feeling that I could still play even though, I wasn't technically that great. So let me ask you guys, like, what did y'all think about that? Like, was it cool to have that ability that we could all play together even though we were on different, levels and like different skill levels and, was that something y'all enjoyed?
Most definitely, man. I thought that's what made it exciting to introduce to someone new, because I knew you could hop in and it didn't matter that you were 15 levels behind me. You could hop in, play where I'm at. We didn't have to backtrack, or I didn't have to walk around with you while you killed little scrubs the whole time. And I just stand there and watch you do it so you can get your level up. We got to go on real missions right off the bat and just have a good time playing the game like we were both in the same spot. And that's what I feel like it was one of the best systems that they put into the game. I wish other MMOs would do the same thing, but I don't know if they're implementing it like that in other games. But the Division was the first one where I saw it.
Yeah, the level scaling was next level. No pun intended. As far as like, because I think at some points I remember trying to figure this out, whether or not it was making us the same level as you or like bringing us within a certain range. But it definitely did, change the encounters to where, because we were, playing the game for the first time ever and not immediately dying, which, we've played Borderlands and some of us have been different levels, and it is completely the opposite. If you join somebody else's game who is much higher than you, as soon as you spawn in, you need to be dead. Revived. Yeah. Like one shot, you're done. And then what you just said, Rob, if you're the higher level person in their game, there's no scaling. There's never a threat to you. And so, especially if the game is really bad about sharing XP, you pretty much just have to be a spectator until, and if you're there to play with somebody else, that can really break the experience pretty terribly. Yeah, and it can make new players not want to play, because if all their friends have already gone up to level 20, 30 or whatever, and now here I come brand new, it's not going to be any fun playing in their game world, and it's definitely not going to be fun for them to sit there and walk around with me doing little basic killing slime missions. Like, that's not fun. And I think one of the other really cool sharing tools is the way loot drops work. Where like everybody gets their own loot, and to me that's one of the coolest things. I remember playing Borderlands 1. Man, that was the worst thing. I had a friend who would pick up anything that dropped, so it didn't matter. He had all the best weapons. He's running around with rocket launchers that drop poison and fire all at the same. Like, it was just the coolest thing, and I'm running around with like a little pistol that I'm holding on to real tight. But I that frustrated me so much. It made me not want to play with him, for one, but it also made me kind of anxious when I played those games, because I'm like, man, I gotta catch me something. Like, I can't, if something drops, I need to run over there and check it out right away and just start picking up stuff, even if I don't know if it's good or not. Just pick it up. I like to look at the stats and take time out to compare my weapons and the things I have in my inventory, so I don't just hoard a whole bunch of things. But with certain people, I didn't have time to do that, so I would just pick up everything.
Yeah. And I think that's something that like you don't even like I feel like MMOs and stuff like that, like Borderlands, because it was like you could play online, like I think back in the day, but it was mostly like couch, co-op kind of play. Is that like it was like your friend group, so you brought your friend in, you kind of know your friends, right? Like some of your friends are like fun to play with, and some of them are like terrible, or some of them get clowned after a game in a voice chat, and somebody leaves a message. That's a whole other story. But it's like you know who they are, so like when you play with them, you adapt. But when you're playing online with people, you don't necessarily know everybody. So it's nice when there's a system that kind of like goes, hey, like you can just enjoy the experience no matter what type of player you're playing with. You can still get the most out of it. And I think that's something that like the Division, they clearly were like focused on, let's make this the best possible experience for any type of player, like at any point that they jump in, like versus like what's it called, Monster Hunter, which is like
oh man,
it is like the worst for number one. Like if you don't start together and play together, like it is horrible. It takes so long.
No hope.
It's like it's so bad, and to see that, and then I think one really cool thing about the Division, and I definitely want to come back to like how people play in MMOs, because I think that's really funny, is that like the Division is also uses a like gaming language that is very familiar if you're like a game player. What I mean is it's a first person shooter, and it's not like it has its complexities, like, oh, you have your little abilities, and you have like your different classes and stuff like that, which makes it unique. But to be honest, like other than that which was a little confusing and trying to understand what was happening in the menu. I mean, the menu was just to this day I still don't know what some of the things do. But like but as far as like gameplay, I knew how to shoot and point at enemies. Yeah. And I know that an assault rifle shoots fast. I know a sniper shoots like a sniper. And the only weapon that's trash to me is a rifle, because like, what's the point of it? It's just
somewhere in between.
It's somewhere in between. Yeah. But like, everything else feels like something that I could play in Call of Duty or some other game. It may play differently, but I think that's like one of the strongest points to me, that it's really easy to start playing like and onboard a person if they've ever played a shooter, like ever, like, it's not like magic powers and like, weird, so.
Yeah, they can pretty much figure out, all you have to figure out after picking up and learning how to just shoot, or knowing how to shoot and throw grenades and take cover, you're really just monitoring the stats on the weapons that you're picking up and the body armor. Once you kind of figure that out, then you can play through the whole game only paying attention to what you're wearing and the weapons that you're picking up. I don't think that you have to really go too much further than that. At least my experience has not required me to have to do much more than just make sure I have the most up-to-date armor and weapons. And that works. I mean, a lot of times I don't even have to change out my weapons or armor for a nice duration of levels before it feels like, okay, I'm getting a little weak. I need to pay attention to some armor upgrades or something. But it's not as heavy as some of the other games, like those fantasy MMO type games. Like the concepts and the ideas, the words that they're using, you don't even know what they're talking about half the time.
Right.
And you're trying to figure out, okay, I need to put the red crystals onto my fairy jacket to make sure that I can use my firepower, and I don't be knowing, and then enchanting items and all that stuff. You don't have to do any of that extra stuff on this one. You just pick up guns like you would on any game. It's just these have stats that let you know which ones are stronger and which ones are weaker. So I feel you. I think that it's a pretty simple game. It's like a beginner MMO.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah. And I think that they've struck a good balance, in my opinion, between having, the loot aspect where you can pick up stuff. There will always be stuff to pick up. There is no shortage of loot in this game. But then, down the line, as we've been playing, every so often I've gotten a little deeper and deeper into the crafting systems. Because if I had to guess, I would think that the crafting and like the guilds and being able to run missions that are effectively not riots. What are they called? Whenever you run a guild mission, raids. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that side of things is what really makes it an MMO, because I feel like I'm still at the high level as far as like understanding how the crafting works, and it's so complex to me because there are like these little nuances, that when you're reading it on the gun, you're like, oh, that's cool. But then when you get in there and they're like, hey, you can remove this stat and put it on a different weapon, but you can only remove certain stats from certain weapons. And you can only put that stat on the same type of weapon, but that weapon has to have it has to meet this certain criteria before you can even break it apart. But if you break it apart, unless you have something else in your inventory, then it won't even go to your inventory. And I'm just man, hold up.
I didn't even know you could do that on there.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's
crazy.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
I immediately ran away from it once I made a shotgun that does incendiary damage, and I was like, that's all I ever wanted, so I'm never coming back here.
Yeah. No, that's a testament to like, I mean, like the level of game design that you need to be able to do that, where like it's kind of like Smash Brothers. You know how Smash Brothers, like anybody can kind of pick up and play, like even if they don't really know how to play games, and they can kind of have a good time if you like aren't obscenely mean to them if you're good at the game. But like, like I've had friends like from church who've never played games, like girls, guys, whoever, and they'll play and they're like having a great time, but they have no idea what's going on. But over here, on the other side, me and like some other guy who's really good, we having like an epic battle. Like over here, spot dodging and trying to jump and grab and dare and nair. And like we're doing all this stuff while they're over there just throwing Pokeballs at each other and having a great time. And I feel like for a player to be able to enter it at the level that they want to and get what they want out of it at any level and still have a good time is incredible. Like, I honestly feel like there's a very long period of time where all I did was like, what armor gives me more armor? It didn't matter what the other stats were. And I saw all these other stats and they have all these things. But as me and Kyle and Rob have played more, I'm starting to notice like, oh, like I can use the skill tier with this to boost my, my ability to be stronger, which gives it stats. And then if I wear different types of weapons of the same class, it boosts each other. And then if I have this type of weapon with this weapon and with this ability, like, and you start to find like, oh man, this is really deep. But fundamentally, as an average player, it's just a shooter. It's what
you don't need all that.
No, you don't have to do any of that extra stuff to enjoy the game. For me, once I figured out my loadout or what I wanted, kind of like what Kyle was saying, he did the thing that made his shotgun shoot fire. I figured out what I wanted my special skill set to be with the grenades. And once I got that set, I'm pretty much going to stay that way for the rest of the time I play the game. I don't feel like going through the trouble. For one, a lot of those things, and that's one of my biggest issues about RPGs in general sometimes, is doing a lot of those extra things, the playing around with the other mechanics and systems in the game takes up a lot of time, and I only have a certain amount of time to play a game sometimes.
Exactly. And
now I've spent half an hour to an hour just in the menus over here updating weapons and backpacks and things like that. And I really just want to go out here and shoot. And especially if I'm playing with my friends, like I'm also on their time as well. So, if Brad doesn't have enough time or he's only got an hour to play, then we got to just get straight to the missions. I'm not going to have Brad sitting with me in the White House while I'm changing my, customizing my guns and things like that. So, but I want to. That's the thing. I like to experience all of the things that the game has to offer. So that's why I will play around with them sometime to some extent. But after I've done it once or twice, then I just kind of leave it alone and just continue to go on enjoying the game and pushing through the game.
Yeah. I think that's like, I think that's something like maybe it's a mindset that is starting to evolve in the game industry, like where like the people who are making games, yes, they make them for kids and stuff, but they're also like making them for adults and starting to realize like, bro, like a lot of games now have that ability to play a game on like, it's not easy mode, but it's like
like
narrative
a story mode type.
Yeah, like a story mode, right? Because like, oh, like I like this game and I like the gameplay, but I'm not really here for the challenge. I'm here for the the story, and I like the story a lot, and I just want to really, I followed this franchise since I was a child, and I just want to see the latest iteration. But I got kids now, and I don't got time to play like 20, 60, 70, 80 hours like I used to. And I can do that in like a weekend or something. So it's like seeing a game that's really trying to accommodate that. And yeah, like I think it's funny, like sometimes when me and Kyle have played, I can tell that Kyle is kind of more invested in like looking at his equipment, but it's not like completely detrimental. If I go, hey Kyle, I only got like 30 minutes, and Kyle goes, okay, cool, I'll do this later. Like he doesn't, I know that in a way it's a bummer because he has to stop what he's doing and like accommodate to my play style, but it doesn't like detriment him. Like he's not all of a sudden like, wow, I'm super under leveled and my random magical shield isn't gonna, repel this. And I need, right. And I didn't go through my sphere grid and change up my, my materia setups. It's like, you can feel like, okay, cool. If I want, I can do this later when he gets off and, experiment with it. And, I think that's really, really powerful.
Yeah. And that's what I try to do before the game. If I know we're hooking up to play, I'll try to get on a few minutes earlier and just spend some time selling some items out of my inventory, giving my backpack some room, or updating or equipping new armor, things like that, so that by the time we are all on together, we can just go ahead and play. And if I don't have time to do that, it's kind of like, oh, well, with this game, you can just keep on moving and still have fun and not have to worry about getting dirt worked as soon as you step out onto the battlefield.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And even in that, like, one of the things I really like about it, even with the multiplayer aspect of it, is that everything is so well time boxed. Like, every time we've played Rad, we always have like a destination in mind. Yeah. But then like we get stopped like 4, 5, 6 times on the way to it. And like, even if we don't make it to our destination, we still like feel like we've played a lot of the game. Because I know like MMOs, in my opinion, I've played quite a few of them. A lot of them suffer from like really bad pacing just because like things are spread around, or you have to do certain prerequisites, or like you were saying earlier, if you're under level, then it forces you to fight these slimes, which is never interesting because it wants to tutorialize, but Division kind of like, it puts you right into the action. Like you feel powerful enough like immediately, and so just the moment to moment is so good.
Yeah, I think that's something that really stood out to me. Like when I played with Rob for the first time, like I think we played Division, the original Division, way back in the day. I can't, when it like was still in a demo or something.
We actually played the beta
of the Division.
Yeah.
And, it was cool. I see a lot of the vestiges or whatever you want to call it of what it was, the Division. But the Division 2, something they've really done well is that you start playing, and I'm playing with Rob and Millie, and we're going through stuff, and it really felt dynamic. Like, when you play an MMO, it's like a lot of empty space. And then you run, you're doing a fetch quest. Like, oh, you need to get 80 elk horns, or you need to kill this particular person. So you're just running to that location and like running into a lot of annoying enemies, or, and sometimes when you go into a new area, it's interesting because it's, oh, this is a new enemy and they're different and whatever. But like the moment to moment feels very like, okay, destination A, destination B. But this game has been like, will surprise me over and over and over. We're just making our, like, when we first were playing, we're making our way through a street, and there's just like a band of people just walking down the street, and they were just popping off. And then another group rolls up, and then all of a sudden, pop, 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 and then there's a side mission pops up. And then all of a sudden, it's like, well, we're here now. I guess, what's this question mark on the map?
Oh, man. That's one of the coolest things about it to me, especially when you can go inside of the building. So you're in the middle of the street getting into a fight. Next thing you know, you're running through a restaurant, and like you're taking cover inside the restaurant, and it's just real cool. One of the coolest open world settings to me in terms of this how much they've put into it, how much detail they put into it, and the fact that you can go inside some locations that you didn't even realize had so many layers to it. You go inside there, and next thing you know, you're like going down into the basement and on a whole different mission that you didn't even know existed just a second ago. But now you're in this real cool mission where you're finding a science lab in the basement. I think me and Kyle and Millie were doing this one mission where it was like, it was real cool. But I don't know if they were, it was something to do with the virus itself. And I remember we even had like a puzzle. It was like a Zelda style puzzle. And I was like, this is cool. They give us some different things to look forward to. So after doing a mission like that, it makes me excited to keep going and hopefully run into another mission of that same caliber without having to just go seeking for those. As I play the game, I'll just run into them, and that's what's really, really cool to me.
Speaking on like the setting and stuff, I was a little bit hesitant at first to kind of get into the game because I felt like they were going to try to push the edginess too far. Like it's a apocalyptic Washington D.C. and like all these different set pieces, like, oh, look what they did to the White House, look what they did to all these different structures, but they've really done it, like, in my opinion, super tastefully. And like you said, it seemed like they really had a vision for it. And so, like, rather than having, oh yeah, this is an abandoned restaurant, isn't that cool? It's like you go in there and there are actually things that kind of make sense. Like, people were here, or now it's been so long that some of the people who have survived, and are living off the land, so to speak, like, they've set up their cots in here, and they have like jugs of nasty water over here, and there's like a loot box over here that has like, oh, this is somebody else's knee pads, because it's always knee pads whenever you whenever you loot
knee pads.
Yes,
but it's like all the environments feel like so intentionally fabricated within, and it's huge. Like, it's a massive map. So
yeah, it's a big map with a lot of detail. So that's what makes it really cool to me. After playing games like GTA, they're huge open world settings, but you couldn't go inside all the buildings and things like that. To be able to do that on a game like this, and it being online multiplayer, is just one of the coolest things, because it's like a surprise box almost. Like, you don't know what you're gonna get, and you're with your friends, so it brings that element of excitement that you used to feel playing couch co-op. Like, that was one of the best things about couch co-op, was just finding something new together. You both getting excited at the same time, and just having that dynamic experience together. With this, it feels very similar, because we both are just running out here with one mission in mind, but then we end up finding all these other things that just take place at the same time. That's what made me like the game. I'm about to change my score from an 8 to a 9.
It's interesting, because the more we talk about it, the more I realize, like, like, to me, I was so amazed by the care that the developer, designers, and artists put together. Like, as you were talking about the restaurant, or the old children's theater, or the Washington Monument, or the NASA like, it's like really clear that, like, the people, like, it feels like almost every space somebody really spent time thinking about, like, how can I make this feel like something, versus just like, oh, we need to make it look different. I remember one time talking to Rob about this, how, like, we both like in a game when the game goes into a new type of like space. So, like, you go from the jungle area to the ice world to the space world. Like, for some reason, that's really fun and interesting, even though it's the same game and, like a Mario game. But I really have enjoyed, like, even the mission, like, me and Kyle played a little bit right before, just to kind of remember what it was like. And we're playing in a theater. Like, it's like a puppet theater. And then, like, there's all these, like, it looked like something you would see, like, in Washington, D.C. if you went to go see a theater for kids. And, like, it really feels like, wow, I'm playing in these spaces. And then they think through all these different dynamic scenarios where, like, you're fighting a person, they're on stage, and then it just feels very, very, like, I feel like they cared about this. It wasn't
Yeah.
just like, of course, it's a cash grab. If you're making a game, you're trying to get that money.
For
But
sure.
like, it really feels like the team was like, I really care about this, and I really want this to be great. And it just really, you can feel it through, and just the levels. There's high ground, and I mean, we can talk about the pathing system being somewhat garbage, but like overall, like just exploring the city. And like one time we were walking through an alleyway and some random dude was standing in the alleyway and we were like, what are you doing here? And he gave us a bounty. We were like, what? You know?
Cool.
And like you said, it's like a little surprise box, and like just every once in a while something new, like, oh, what? Like, you know, so yeah, you know, I've really
one of my favorite environments that we ended up coming across was I believe it was a planetarium. They had like the auditorium, and like a video was playing while we were in the middle of a shootout. Like it was just so cool. It was one of the coolest places that we ended up going to. And you guys didn't really play the Division 1, but the Division 1, I mean, to me, honestly, like you could go back and play the Division 1. Someone could probably argue that there's some systems that Division 2 improved on, but overall, to me, the experience was just about the same. And what was really cool about it is that it was New York, so it was a whole different surprise box city that you could run through. I mean, there was a part where I believe it was Madison Square Garden, and you're in the rafters.
Oh wow!
Like, and you like, but you see the whole like the stadium below you while you're going through the rafters, and it's just one of the coolest things to experience. So I've been so impressed by the way they've done this game and the way they built it. I haven't seen anything else that's like it, really. I always wondered how Far Cry games play in multiplayer mode, because they seem like they could be similar, I guess. But they wouldn't call theirs an MMO. They would just call theirs like a 4-player co-op game. But I've heard that it has a really good co-op, because you can just play in that huge open world with 4 of your friends. And I guess what makes an MMO, and you guys will probably talk about it more, is I guess the stats and the leveling up feature of an MMO or of an RPG, and I guess putting that into the game will make it be considered an MMO versus another game that's the Division 2 but without all of those things.
Yeah.
So I don't. I guess Far Cry probably wouldn't be that, but it seems to me like it would. That's kind of a cool game that I could see being similar in that you would ride around and you would run into these really cool things. Borderlands does it good. At least Borderlands 2. I heard Borderlands 3 was garbage.
It's rough.
Confirmed.
Yeah. So
listen to episode 1.
Yeah, so I don't know really like who else does. Like I wouldn't. After having an experience like this with the Division 2, I don't know if I could expect to have an experience like this with any other MMO. Like Monster Hunter and things like that just don't grasp me. I've tried to get into them, but it feels like the learning curve is huge on it.
Yeah.
If you miss out playing it with your friends when it comes out, then you're just pretty much left behind by yourself to figure it out. And it just doesn't have that same vibe. This was one of the best MMOs that I've played.
I mean,
I think
gaming.
Go ahead, Kyle.
I think Monster Hunter is also one of those games that is of a specific taste. Like I had a hard time playing Monster Hunter just because it's in a game, it's in a league all of its own as far as like how it handles things. Like it ventures into like the fantastical, but then like as far as player movement, it's like very realistic. And so like I could see that being very off-putting for people. Aside from if you can get past that, and if you do enjoy, the moment to moment of the action, once you get into the user experience for that game, no matter what you're doing, that might be the straw that breaks the camel's back for you, because it's nearly incomprehensible
by
design.
So I want to I want to come back to what Rob was saying, but I want to continue a little bit on Division here. So keep in mind the MMO thing in general, but let's talk a little bit about Division. Well, okay, there's two things I want to talk about Division: the bad things, some of the bad things, but also where to me it really starts to stand out as an MMO. So first, like, let's talk a little bit about how maybe some of the things that I feel like it didn't do super well. Like, number one, I just want to call this out, and I said this a little earlier, but like the map system is okay, but when it comes to pathing you to some place, sometimes it's one of the most frustrating experiences you could possibly have. Like, I remember one time playing by myself, I just wanted to get some of the shade caches, which are used for like upgrading your special abilities or whatever, and whatever bonus kind of stuff, because y'all weren't on. And I remember there was a shade cache in in this building, and it was pathing me to the building, but no matter where I went, I'd follow the path. It would all of a sudden just reset and tell me to go somewhere else.
Yep.
Right. And I kept doing that over and over. And I remember Shailene, that's my wife. She was watching me and she's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I don't even know." Like, I'm trying to find this shade cache. I've been literally doing it for 20, 30 minutes. Find out later, I had to find this one arbitrary wall that I could climb. Mm-hmm. And then I could climb somewhere else, which I had done once before, but I missed that there was another random window that was climbable through, that I then had to go across a plank and then jump across the thing.
I know exactly which one you're talking about.
And it was just like, this is, and I get, they try to use these yellow tarps to kind of show you this is climbable, but in some situations, especially with the verticality of how the game works, and how streets aren't always like they'll go down and up, and a building, the entrance, there's no clear entrance to a building. It drove me mad. I almost was like, I don't know if I can do this anymore because
no,
I don't know if y'all have had any frustrations outside of that, but that one has killed me. The whatever you call it, the pathing.
I think that was the last cache that I had to get, because if I remember, it was whenever you clicked it on the map to waypoint, it'd bring you into an alleyway, and there was this tall fence. Was that the same one?
Oh, I know what you're talking about. The tall fence one, where you had to travel through the building, and then that one had a plank that you go to another building in order to. But you can see the shade cast through the fence. But you have to figure out, how in the world do I get into this building, but there's no entrance on the ground level. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. I was talking about a different one, but yes, that one frustrated me as well. Oh, yes.
I mean, there were a handful of them that were just as terrible as each other. I don't think there's one that I could classify as the worst, because they were all just horrible.
Yeah, I pretty much, I agree. That was, the shade caches did bother me a lot. I think I'm still someone who's into graphics and the way the game looks. And to me, it's one of those things where it's like, man, they blended everything so well. Everything looks so detailed. Yeah. But it's also kind of like a curse too, because it's some things that you wish would stand out a little bit more to help you know where the path is or what path to take. It just blends into the background. You can't tell that, oh man, I should have jumped on this trash can because the trash can, you walk past plenty of them throughout the game, but you don't think about
jump on them. Exactly.
Yeah. And so no, I agree. They could do a little bit better with giving some direction or some cues to let you know that, hey, this window, none of the other 1,000 windows that you saw, but this one you can actually climb through. I feel you.
And they do a pretty good job with interactable objects, giving them that orange glow. So sometimes, there's been situations where the orange glow extends way beyond what the object is, and it's a little confusing. But overall, I like that because it draws your attention to something that might look, like you said, they've done such a good job with detail. Another door with a lock on it isn't any different than any other door you've walked by because of how detailed things are. So right. I think overall they've done a good job of mitigating those issues. I think they created a game that even their own system is too, like, it's not good enough. Or like even bounties, for example, like they purposefully don't give you a direct route to the bounty. They kind of want you to find it. But I'm learning more and more that they're always just underground.
Mm-hmm.
like you find the nearest sewer and go underground. That's probably the way that you're going to get to the bounty, because it's rarely above ground. If you can't get to it,
interesting.
You know?
Well, yeah, I guess if you can't find it, yeah. See, I remember the bounties, for one, were like the hardest battles that I would have in the game.
Oh yeah,
for whatever reason, like they would just be the toughest battles. But the ones that I was running into, they were like above ground, and one, it was two people, and what, you get a time limit on those bounties, don't you? Like you have to do it in a certain amount of time. Yeah, I remember those were weird when I first started doing them, and probably because I should have went underground. I didn't know that I could probably just needed to go underground, because I couldn't find certain ones. A lot of times I would run up to the area and be looking around trying to figure out what should I do. But the one that I found, I remember it was above ground, and the guy killed me in like 5 minutes.
Oh man.
Yeah, it was too long of a fight for me to die. And then when I came back, I guess the bounty goes away, or
it does. Yeah, when you die.
When you die in it.
But no, that's trying to find things in a game that's has verticality to it like that. I think that's always been a problem. A lot of games I play, single player games as well, just when there's things that are above you or below you. They just, for whatever reason, they have a hard time doing that, or they don't want to just give me an arrow, like a line that goes from me that goes to where I need to go, and I feel like that would remedy the problem. But for whatever reason, they don't do it that way. They just put like a dot somewhere, and
it's like, figure it out.
You have to figure it out. Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah. Kyle, anything for you?
So my least favorite, like, random event is a combination of these things: the bad navigation, as well as confusion on where things are, and that's the supply drop event.
Oh my goodness, those, I literally just don't even, I ignore those boys.
Yeah, me too, because it's never worth it. Like, you're always just gonna find a pistol that's under level whenever you open the supply drop. And I don't know, I never use my sidearm, so I don't need another one. But the worst thing about them is that, first off, it shows up on your map, right? And it's like, oh, it's a supply drop happening. And it's like, it's over here. And so you run over there, but like Brad was saying, it's one of those that cover an area. And now the supply drops, sometimes, I think there's a glitch with the effect, but sometimes they'll have a flare on them, and so they'll puff, the pink smoke, right? But while you're running over there, once you get into the area, the enemies start opening them. And so, like, if you come in on one side, but there's a supply drop on the complete opposite side, you can't even get over there before the guy opens it. And so you just hear supply drop opened, and so now you have 2 out of 3 that you can get. But then you're like looking around for the other 2, and they're like be behind walls, and they'll be up on top of stuff. But there's like no indications. If you can't see the pink smoke, you have no idea where they are. And you're just getting shot in the back of the neck. Yes. Because there's 30 enemies. And it's just like, once you do find the supply drop, like I said, it's never, I think the first time I got a designated hitter was from a supply drop. And that was when I was super low level. So it was cool back then. But then ever since, I've only gotten like garbage weapons.
Yeah, and I feel like, that type of mission, like when in your head you come up with an idea, like, it'd be super cool if you had to fight 10 guys at the same time, and there was explosions, and they all had rocket launchers, and you had to dodge their bullets. Like, it sounds like really cool until you like actually play it or do it, and you're like, oh, this is horrible. I feel like the supply drops are that, like, it's multiple factions all trying to get to the same point. And you also, it's time based. You're trying to stop people from opening the little caches or whatever. But because of the game's like weirdness, sometimes you can't stop a person from opening it, even if you are shooting them or it's being weird. But the worst part, I feel like I've died more on those supply missions than anything else in the game, because I'll go in there, I'm like over leveled for the situation. I feel pretty good. and then there's people in front of me, behind me, above me, under me. Like, it's like, I'm like, where are they coming from? And they're all shooting, and like, there's nowhere to hide. And then all of a sudden, you know, you just die. And I'm like, what in the world? Like, I feel like that's one of those situations where they're like, man, this seems really cool. But like, when you put it out there, it's like, nah, this ain't fun. This is just annoying, you know?
Yeah. I don't think I would go. I think I went after one supply drop, and I decided then that I wasn't going to waste time with them anymore because it was just a headache overall to have to deal with.
Yeah. Yeah, I wanted to mention one more thing before we kind of change the topic, because there's this one mission. I don't know if you remember this, Kyle. Remember when we were heading, it was over near like the Washington Monument or something. And this is the first time we'd been in this area. And we were just kind of running around, and like, you know, the cool thing about the game, as we mentioned, is there's like a lot of stuff happening. Like, okay, we have a mission over here, but oh, there's this shade cache over here, and oh, there's a public execution happening, and blah 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 blah. Oh, also the missions that I never want to see again are the propaganda ones.
The broadcast.
The broadcast ones. Those are just stupid. But anyway, so we're heading toward a mission, and we run into this area that seems really well designed. Like, it's supposed to be a mission area. And we kind of go in there, and we're kind of like looking around, and we're finding loot, and like, you know, like there's nobody really there. And it seems kind of glitched out a little bit because like we might see an enemy or something, but they're not like really paying attention to us, or it just felt a little weird.
Doors wouldn't open when they should.
Doors wouldn't open. Things weren't interactive. What we ended up finding out is that we entered the backside of a mission. Like, we were going against the flow, I guess you could say, of what the mission wanted. And it was, I think, the mission that we were needing to do or something. And we got like halfway through, and we kind of got in this situation where we couldn't progress anymore. And then the mission triggered. And all of a sudden, it was like one of those weird missions where it's like a hostage situation where a person's like, please help us. Don't let us die. You know, and you can see their health bar pop up. And all of a sudden, you just hear like one of those like big Gatling guns, like, like shooting. And the person's like, please help. And you just see their life going down. And we're like, how do we get to you? You know, and we failed the mission. And it was like one of those situations where it's like, you're too good. Like, your game is so interesting that like, you kind of made the situation where I want to investigate things that I shouldn't be investigating. Like, I should be completely blocked out of. And we failed the mission. We had to restart it, and it restarted us and like teleported us to a whole nother area. It was so strange.
I think it actually brought us like closer to the starting point to where we were able to trigger it in the right place.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we did it in the right direction. It was so strange. It was fun, kind of.
Yeah.
But it was so strange. So, yeah, go ahead.
I would say I can't count how many times that during a mission I turned down a path that was actually the exit. Because it'll start you off like, and then because they put like the secret loot chests and stuff, and the keys and all those stuff in those little nooks and crannies. And so, you know, always searching down for secrets, and 9 out of 10 times it's just the exit. And so you can't go anywhere.
Yeah. So it's like you were saying earlier, Rob, like the game is so detailed and so well done. It's kind of a disadvantage because everything feels important, but everything isn't important. And then, you know, it's an interesting thing. So okay, I want to talk about one aspect that I feel like this game where it starts to really show its MMO-ness. So, you know, Rob, me and Kyle had been playing, right? And we got to basically the max level, like the level cap, right? Yeah. And we were playing some random mission. Like, we were like, oh, like, let's just play these story missions. You know, like, maybe we'll catch Rob or Millie or whatever. Like, let's just play a few of them. So we arbitrarily, like, we were taking some, like, stronghold or something. And we didn't really think anything of this. Like, we were just doing some random missions. You know, there was still plenty of other stuff to do on the map. We were just like, oh, we got some time. And we ran a mission. And it was like very, first of all, who knows what the story is? Like, I have no clue what's happening.
Yeah.
And, and a testament to them that like I could care less about the story, but like I will like tolerate it,
Yeah.
So anyway, we're playing this mission, and I can't remember what we were doing, but it was like in the Congress building or something. I don't know if you remember this, Kyle. And all of a sudden we beat the mission, and then a countdown started.
Mm-hmm. And the thing was red. I remember.
We finish a mission, and then there's a countdown, and it says world, like it says some
advancing world tiers.
Yes,
like that.
Yes, it's advancing world tier, and there's a countdown, and we had just finished the mission, still trying to get loot, and we're kind of heading toward the exit, and it's telling us we need to leave the mission area, and we're like, what is happening? And it's just a countdown, like a 60-second countdown, advancing world tier, no explanation, no, like nothing, not like
just running,
just running, and then it just goes, the countdown happens, the screen goes black, and then it like transitions to like a cutscene.
Wow.
And it shows like these like dudes invading the city with like super high tech weapons, like these drone robots and advanced armor, and like killing all these people and like retaking over the whole city. So everything we had done together, like as a group, got undone.
Oh,
like,
wow.
every
what
do you call them?
Outposts? Yeah, and strong control points.
Every control point, every city, everything that we had taken, safe houses as well, I believe. Like all of them got reset, and we're just sitting here like, what just happened?
Wow. See, that's what I was saying earlier about just like, that's cool. Like, I think that's really cool. But at some point I want to beat the game, I guess.
Yeah.
If there's a such thing. And that for me is like, it's a way to keep you playing. And I understand, like, and I think that for some people that's awesome. There's a guy who I'm friends with on PlayStation. I don't talk to him. I barely know him like in real life, but we became friends on PlayStation at some point, and the only game I see him playing all the time is The Division 2.
Wow.
All the time. He's been playing it for years. And I can understand, I can see how, you can end up wrapped up in it, especially when you go into the PvP area and stuff. But for me, like, I would probably, that cutscene would have been my end of the game cutscene. It would have just been like, oh, well, I guess we lost. They took over the city. Cause that's just too much for me. Like, it's, the gameplay is fun. I like to, keep going through it, but I like to play other games too. So it's really hard to
yeah, that's real.
Just, keep playing it.
Mm-hmm. So
there was no warning.
Yeah, what were you thinking when that was happening, Kyle? Like, what was going through your head?
Well, I thought, the mission, it was grand, and, and it seemed like it was one of the, I guess, like really momentous missions, because it was a longer one, and a lot of like story stuff was happening. I think we had just like saved everybody, and we got the White House up to a certain tier, and the story had progressed so far. What you could conceive of the story, at least, like the noticeable beats had happened. And so, like, to me, there was no warning. And so I was terrified I was like, this game is about to erase my hard drive or something, because it looked so malicious to see.
Yeah, it really did.
Like, advancing world tiers, which, like you were saying earlier, Rob, it's like they might as well have put it in French, because I have no idea what that means.
Yeah.
And it was in red, and we were in the building when it came up, and it gave us a 1-minute countdown. And so we were scrambling trying to find the exit, and when it gave us a countdown before, or something like that, said leave the mission area, we could leave, and then the countdown would go away, everything would be fine. But so we scrambled to the exit, found the exit, left the mission area, and the countdown didn't stop. And so it was like we were just waiting for our imminent doom at
whatever was coming.
Yeah. And so it was a super strange experience.
And yeah, and I think the biggest thing was there was no warning. It wasn't like, you know how in a lot of games when you get to that point where like you're about to do something that you can never like go back on, they say, "Are you sure?" Like, or they make it really clear, like, "Hey, just to let you know, this is the final mission. Anything you want to do before this, you know, that you want to complete, you won't be able to, you know, you won't have access to." So it lets you know. And you're like, oh, okay, I'm not going to do this right now because I want to get more shade caches, or I want to find, you know, do some more of the side missions, blah, 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 blah. But this was just another mission on the map that you could do. And sure, it seemed more grand and epic, but at the end of the day, a lot of the like main missions feel pretty grand and epic, and like a lot of really cool stuff are happening. Like one of the missions, the whole building catches on fire. It was kind of strange, but like, it was like, wow, they're really trying to do a thing.
I know what you're talking about.
You know, and it's like, oh, okay, this is cool, you know? But, yeah, and then, but here's the thing. I 100% agree with you, Rob. Because at that moment, real talk, I was like, I'm done with this game. Because I see what you're about to do here. Like, you just reset all my progress.
Yeah, recycled the content.
I hate that. Like, I hate that. But you know what they did after that? They were like, we gonna make it worth your time. Like we go to the White House and they're like, hey, a new thing opened up, and you're like, you know, they always open up random stuff that don't really matter. And you go up to it, and then it's like, ka-choom, 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 ka-choom. And then all these, like, first of all, they don't tutorialize nothing. Like, they love to give you a tutorial after you've done a thing, and then like try to pretend like it matters. But anyway, that's a whole nother thing. But we go to this desk and it's like, you've now unlocked specializations. And we're like, specializations? What is that? And all of a sudden they're telling you, you can get a new weapon. And you can get a new this, and you can have this. And we're like, what? And like, you can choose your different weapons. And then there's little missions in the weapon. And then it's like, what? Like all of a sudden me and Kyle are like, we got to keep playing. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Well,
like,
that's the hook, man. That's the hook for all the free to play games. Like, that's what keeps people going. Is that right there? The way they stimulate you with the sound, all that ka-choom, ka-choom, ka-choom. You unlocked it, like Cal pulled, got the bow and arrow. Like, you almost made me want to keep playing just so I can get the bow and arrow, though. Yeah, because that sounds real cool. But I mean, yeah, they're gonna keep doing that to you, Brad. Like, they have their claws into you. Like, they're not gonna let you go. You have to just be like, I'm done.
But wait, there's more.
But there's more. Yeah, and it just and it really started to show, like, oh, this is why this people like you mentioned that to me before, that you had a friend that plays that all the time, and I was like, how's somebody playing this all the time? Like, I get it, but like, I feel like there's a point where it ends. But then that's where the MMO part started to show itself. Like, hey, like, you know, like in a lot of MMOs, like the first part of the game is getting to the max level. After the max level, it's all about the gear. After the gear, it's all about the raids. After the raids, it's all about the PvP. After the PvP, it's all about, we got an expansion. Now the level cap has gone up. And then you start that process again. And I'm like, I see it. Yep. This is what this game is about. And, you know, I'm not an MMO person by my nature, but I was like, wow, this is a really powerful formula. You know, Kyle, you said you've played more MMOs. Have you had that experience before in something different, like, you know, a different game that you've played?
So in most of the MMOs I've played, one thing that Division has done differently to those is introduce the level cap so soon. Like, I feel like we got to the level cap really early as far as MMOs are concerned.
Yeah, 30 is pretty low.
Pretty low.
Yeah.
And you level up pretty quickly, you know?
Yeah.
Pretty much every mission you level up. Like
maybe 2 or 3 times, and you know, in a mission, you know, if you do missions and some side stuff. But yeah, sorry, what were you thinking?
So yeah, it was just and there'd be like a lot of coveted items when you reach a certain level. And so that was the incentive to get to a level, was that once you get there, then, you know, it was specific stuff, not just like, oh, here's a better version of the same thing, which was also kind of strange to me in the Division, because there's Emmeline's guard and designated hitter, and then a couple of other, I can't remember, like golden weapons that you get. And it's like, then they recycle those over and over throughout the levels. And it's like, I've never seen that in an MMO. Like, if you're getting a better electricity sword, it's going to be somebody else's electricity sword. It's not going to be the same one, but with better stats. And so, they've kind of flipped the formula on its head, where it's like, I guess that's to make it more digestible, because whenever it's just a better version, it has all the same attributes, but the stats are better. So like, you don't really have to read it. Like, you just know you have a better version of the same thing you had. And it's like, and so on that account, because I've played, one that I was really big into was like, Champions Online. And I think the level cap was like 60 or something. But at every level, you get a new superpower, because it was a superhero based MMO. And so like, that was the whole deal, was that eventually you want to have a full suite of superpowers, but they were level capped. And that's why you continued within the MMO type of thing.
Yeah, that's interesting, because I feel like, and maybe the Division kind of like has been around long enough where they don't feel like they need to explain this to new players. But it almost feels like they're like, oh yeah, by the way, there's specializations. I forgot to tell you about that. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh yeah, by the way, like there's world tiers, and the world tiers, when you do more stuff, oh, by the way, there's like these aside missions. Like, it's like everything seems to just kind of be like a random thing, and it's a good surprise. But like, it kind of feels, I don't want to say like aimless. It just feels like, like you were saying, Rob, like, I'm just looking for the ending. Like, I was just looking for the final mission and, the final battle. And I was like, cool, I beat the game, But it feels like, because we came in so late, we might have missed a lot of that stuff as it was happening. Like when specializations appeared and da-da-da-da.
Now the game has everything and DLC and all kind of stuff added. But that's, it's a good thing. It's like a good problem, I guess. Like, for someone who really wants to dive deep into that world and wants to continue to have something to do, and especially when you're younger. Like, 17-year-old me would have lost my mind. I would have been so ecstatic. Like, man, I get like more game. Like, oh, it's more bad guys. Yeah, bring it on. Like, I would have enjoyed that, because I had all the time in the world, for one, to just play the same game, and I had limited funds, things like that. So 100%. Having one game that gave me this much content was perfect back then. But now for me, it's hard to get invested into a lot of things, and I would love to be into an MMO. I don't know if Division would be the one that I would pick for myself if I was given a choice to play an MMO, and I would have all the time to play it and just enjoy it. I'm not sure if the Division would be the one, but like what you were saying, Brad, with them like giving you little things, or they kind of drop things on you almost like it's an afterthought, and say, oh yeah, here's the world tier thing, and here's the specialization thing. Sometimes it seems like the Division is kind of like a beginner MMO, like we were saying before. Like, maybe it was better that they just gave it to you in these little bits, little slices, because if they would have dropped all that kind of stuff on me, or even tried to tell me that was coming at the beginning of the game, I would have been like, man, this is like, I have no idea what's going on. Yeah, it would have been too much.
Yeah, and I feel like, for example, Monster Hunter can be that, like a massive text wall at the very beginning of your experience about something that you won't interact with until like you've literally played for 90 hours. And I feel like there has to be a balance. Like, hey, I hit level 25. You can give me a heads up. Like, hey, be aware that like we have, because I'm already invested. I'm here. I've been here for 25 levels. I've played X amount of hours. Like, drip feed it to me at a time. And I feel like they almost got it right. Like they accidentally got, at least has kept me along for the ride. So let me ask you guys. Well, okay, one more thing about Division, and I want to talk a little bit about MMOs. So I don't know what this is. I don't know if this is a part of the DLC, their expansion that I think me and Kyle bought or something, or download or whatever. But we experienced this mission where you go to this college campus and you do these missions. And it was it's the strangest set of, like it's very different than the rest of the game that we've played up to this point. Like, you know how like the game is all about like these events happening, and they're dynamic and random enemies and da-da-da-da. There's this thing where you get on this like helicopter and it takes you to this other place, and it's on this college campus, and it's just empty. It's just absolutely empty. And then it's just like missions to play. but there's like 3 missions that you have to do basically in like one sitting. It seems like I don't really understand. They didn't really communicate exactly what you need to do. But
was
there's
it the helicopter in front of the White House?
It was
you got on?
inside.
It's
It's the exploration missions. Or
yeah, it's
something
not
like
the manhunt one. It's not the manhunt one that they really want you to pay for and buy, whatever
Yeah.
whatever that is. It's like a different thing. Like once you get to a certain level, I think it unlocks. It's
Oh.
They can't. It was a result of the world tier.
yes,
Because we can unlock
yes.
the next one by going to the next.
by
world
going to
tier.
the next world. That's what it is. Yeah, the world tiers unlock these like side mission. Well, not even side missions. It's like side
It's a whole new area.
worlds. Yeah, it's like going to the ice world or something. But it's weird because how they have it set up is like you go to this empty void of a world, just nothing there. It almost seems like just they built the world, but we're like, this is a test level. But anyway, you go in there.
Yeah, kind of.
There's some kind of stuff you can find, But anyway, you go on these missions, and the missions have like 3 different missions in that area.
Mm-hmm.
And you can select which one you want to do, and then it opens. What you find out later is just the same area over and over. It's just you do different sets of things, and I'm trying to really describe this. And like,
I'm trying to follow.
it's basically like a side mission, but like imagine there's 3 side missions all combined into one area. Okay, and they have different objectives and different things. And the strangest thing about these missions is that they just feel like they were made almost by, personally, and Kyle can share his opinion, they feel like they were made by another team. Because they are very like puzzle-y, like Zelda-y, but like without like Miyamoto-san associated to it. It's like they understand the concept of a puzzle, but this is not how you do a puzzle. There's there's this one where we have to open these valves to like figure out. It was so bad. Like us trying to figure out like, I guess I kind of figured out like, yeah, if this valve makes a weird noise, then it's working. But it's like you needed to open 3 valves to do a thing, but it was super unclear what was supposed to work. So it took us like 30 minutes to figure that out. And then they had this mission where like we had to fight all these enemies while with a like time limit, and there was like these computers we needed to press at certain intervals. It was so
yeah, in the union or the library, whatever it was.
Yeah, it was. I don't even know if it was bad, but it wasn't good.
It was frustrating.
It was frustrating.
That's interesting. It sounds like that's something that bothers me sometimes with games is when they throw something at you that goes kind of against the grain of the way the game was made. Like it's like we only threw this here, like the Zelda-esque puzzles. It means your brain this whole time was not thinking that way.
Mm-hmm.
But now all of a sudden they throw this thing at you and you're not thinking in the way that you should be. They didn't train your brain up to this point to be prepared for this type of mission. But now you're in this type of mission and you're like trying to figure it out. That can be very frustrating at times. For me, I know me and Cal with the mission where he had to like shoot through a window to hit a button on the wall. Mm-hmm. We've never done that the whole game. I don't think I've done it anytime since. Yeah. And so you don't think like that so you're running around trying to figure out something that you never had to do. So yeah, those type of missions seem like they can be a little funny. I wonder why they did that. I guess it's for padding. It sounds like it's like filler, like y'all were on filler missions.
So it was kind of cool, I guess, to me, because I kind of like the way that they handle the lore of the game. Like it's very topical, especially right now because of the pandemic, and it's like I forgot what the actual virus was, but effectively it was COVID. everybody got.
And it really felt like it was COVID based, and I'm pretty sure they made this way before COVID, but it really felt like it was a commentary on COVID. Yeah.
Well, they said it was a flu that passed around during the Black Friday. That's what it was originally came from. I know with the New York, the one from the Division 1, it was set during Christmas time. So you saw Christmas lights and trees all over the place while you were going through the world.
Yeah, there's a few areas decorated with Christmas in Division 2 too. But and so like this campus is kind of a continuation of that, because all like the echo logs you find, which just for as an aside, those are a bag of worms as far as like what you're gonna get, the quality of those echoes. Like some of them are really good, and other ones are just like, did they record this in one take?
Like, please stop.
On their phone. Like,
that's funny.
So most of them are pretty good though on the campus, and it's about this girl who started a podcast as an assignment, and so she was like tracking the days before. So you hear like her roommate got sick and what the school was doing as an aside. And then on top of that, while you're finding those, it's completely separate, because like what Brad was talking about, you go into the different areas of the campus and they split you off into the puzzles, and those are topical as far as like how people were trying to, I guess, use the campus for like malicious intent. And but the thing that's, I guess, why they put it there, aside from the padding, obviously the padding, because I don't think there needed to be. Was it 6 or was it 9?
It was 9, because it was 3 areas with 3 missions each.
Yeah, so there was 9 missions, and the saving between us doing one of the missions in one of the areas was very unclear, because I think we did 2 in a night, and we're like, oh, we'll finish this next time, and then we came back and had to do all 3 of them again.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
But once you finish the area, it's saved, and so but then once you finish all 9, it opens up a secret area, and that's where we got our first exotic weapon.
Yeah, so that was
the highest level.
Yes. So that was
so it was worth it.
Mm-hmm.
Almost. Because it was a rifle.
It was the rifle, but it's just good enough that it's not garbage. Like, it's like, okay, I can rock this, and it does a lot of good damage and has a cool little trait like that it has. Like, it kind of locks on people, and if you kill a person that it's locked on, you get a bonus, and like it's a pretty cool weapon. But you know what's interesting, Kyle? Now that you're saying all that, it honestly felt like the only area that they actually wrote and like prepared for was the like library kind of mission, because the weird subway one felt completely random. It didn't even feel like the same area. It was like toxic chemicals and a weird plant that was about to explode that you had to disable, and it was very strange. And then like the dining hall one felt kind of connected to the library.
Kind of, yeah.
Like you can kind of feel that, oh, this is more what's happening now, and like you need to rescue an agent who's there. And then that one was kind of showing the past. But I don't know, like I feel you, but at the same time, it just didn't feel like the same game to me. It felt very different, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I think that's kind of the weird way of the puzzles. They kind of give you that sense. But anyway, what were we saying, Rob?
Oh, no, I was just going to say that you definitely made it sound a little bit cooler than what I originally thought. Brad was struggling with trying to make it sound like I didn't know if Brad liked it or didn't like it. But I think with putting in the element of the story, having the story element to back it up, or to at least give you something to get out of it, that I think that's really cool. I just know that's one thing. It's kind of a separate thing, but playing MMOs, it's hard to get the chance to sit and listen to like the echoes and stuff. Like, I like that, but when I'm playing with some people, Brad, they like to keep moving.
I like the echoes if they ain't stupid. Like, I love this narrative, but when somebody's on a cast going, stop stabbing me, and they're like gurgling, I'm like, all right, I'm done. Let's keep moving. Like, I ain't got time for this.
Yeah, cut the tape.
I'm all about audio logs if they're not garbage. Like,
and they do have a lot of garbage ones. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, I entertain more than what I probably need to, just because I really want to. Brad, we grew up playing hardcore RPGs.
Yeah.
And so it's like the story, I'm going to take in the story no matter how ridiculous it is and how crazy it sounds. I will take time out to listen to the story and to try to get something out of it. So I can see that the area that you all are talking about, I could see that being pretty interesting and cool to have that story element in there that kind of makes it make sense, or like you have a reason or a purpose for what you're doing.
Yeah, I tried to make it make sense.
Yeah, I'd like you, Rob, to definitely make it to 30 and get that first world tier, because I'd like to do it again now with perspective. It's like, you ever watch a show that like was super, like recently we rewatched The Witcher, and the first time you watch The Witcher, you'll probably be mad confused. Like, I'm just gonna be super honest with you. But I watched it again, and it was much better the second time because I knew what was like happening. I forgot everything about the story, but I knew like how the structure worked, and it was like, oh, this is so much better because now I'm not fighting the confusion of like, what is happening? Like, why is this happening? Like, is this the past? Is it the future? Like, it was. If you watch The Witcher, wow, you'll know exactly what I mean. And but with now having context and seeing it, like, I know how it all flows. It feels a lot better. And I feel like the confusion I had, especially with that subway set of missions, I was super confused. Like, I was like, I don't know what's happening. These puzzles are terrible. Like, what is going on? Like,
they're still gonna be bad.
Yeah, they're still gonna be bad. But I'd like to do it again, like with you, to kind of see your vibe. Like, you now have our context, but like you have both sides of the coin.
Yeah.
I'd like
I'm probably gonna fall somewhere in the middle of that, because I can see where Kyle's coming from, but I can also kind of see, like, I can understand why Brad felt the way he felt.
So just talking about like stories and MMOs and stuff like that. So like, one thing that we've all kind of mentioned is that this idea of like, the reason that we maybe struggle with MMOs is just the time sink. Like, what would, like, at this point in your life, Rob, you were saying a little bit earlier, you're like, I don't know if this is the game I would choose to be the MMO that I play, but at this point in your life, what would make you stick around to be like fully into an MMO of any type, any genre? Like, what would you need to see in order for you to feel like, okay, I want to spend the next 1,000 hours in this experience? Like, man, what would keep you going?
That's a tough question. I mean, you mean like outside of my life needing to like I get rid of all my kids?
No, you still have your same life, but you found a game that you've committed to. Yeah, exactly. Like,
man. Well, I honestly, you would have to take away everything that makes an MMO for me to, I guess, feel that way. Because, like, in the menu systems, things that require time that is not playing the game. Like, that's one of the biggest things. I would need to be able to know that all I have to do is pick up the controller and hop on. There's going to be people on that I can play with, whether they're friends or people who I've established a relationship with through the game. And we just get on, and we're just like, it's almost like a space to hang out in as well as go and play. But it's just really about playing the game and having, I guess, see, everything I'm going to end up describing will just sound like a co-op game. Like, it would be almost like just playing a co-op video game that has very strong missions, a direct storyline, something that's almost like watching a cool television series or something. Ooh. And I get to experience it with my friends. Like, that would be the thing that and they would have to keep dropping content though. So if I'm gonna put 1,000 hours into it, they're gonna have to keep dropping new stories, new missions, things like that. Wow. But I just couldn't imagine doing that. I guess a game, like, I really don't know, bro. That's a tough one. It would have to be something that has a clear story. Like, I guess if a game started off with about 20 missions and me and my friends are starting from the beginning. And see, that's the thing too. It's like, how can I guarantee that my friends are going to start when I start? And if I'm already 10 missions in or 10 story missions into the game, now it goes back to the problem of, well, I got to go back to where Brad is and start with him and rewatch the whole thing, or I can only play when he's playing. Like, it just, I really
stay
don't
away
know.
from Monster Hunter then.
Yes, yeah. I don't want to play Monster Hunter. I got turned off as soon as I turned Monster Hunter on. I was playing the demo, and it gave me a screen full of text.
Yep.
Just like explaining updates and all that stuff.
That's their way. That's their
world?
way to weeding you out. They're like, if you can't take this, go home.
Yeah. I tried for about 5 minutes, and I really could not.
So are you saying, Rob, that like fundamentally, it can't just be just a gameplay loop? There has to be something driving you forward, like narratively or story wise.
I want the world to change. I want us to experience the world changing together. Like, if something big dynamically happens where a meteor hits the side of the earth, I want us to like experience that together, where we're coming in, like, now we're playing the game, but there's like new enemies that came out of this crater, and we're all seeing this together. It's like a whole different world that we're playing on, but the world is changing dynamically whether you're there or not. So if Kyle's not playing, we have to tell Kyle, we have to get Kyle up to speed. Like, well, Kyle, last week this rock hit the side of the earth, and now we got to deal with these crazy enemies. So you might want to load up with water pistols and stuff like that, because we getting ready to go and fight.
Yeah, water pistols.
So that's the only way that Kyle. So like, it kind of makes you have to continue to play it so that you can keep up to speed with what's going on in that world, because if you're not there, the world is still moving forward whether you're there or not. So it's like, I don't know, I'm giving you mixed things, because I really don't, it's hard to, like, it would just have to be something that I know is making me want to get on, and whether I get on Monday or Friday, I have something to look forward to when I get on there. I don't feel like I'm, I guess I don't feel like my level matters to my friends. I can just get on and play with you guys.
It's very interesting, because you almost describe what, like, kind of what I need from a game to keep me playing forever, like MMO type 1,000 hours, is very similar. And I was very close, I felt like, to almost finding a game, because Smash basically was that for me. Like, it didn't matter, like, there's no level associated to your character, right? The level is associated to you, because it's like a skill kind of game. But when I play with the people that I play with, we all have the same like level of commitment. So we're all like relatively good. You know, like, none of us are going to the tournaments. None of us are, you know what I'm saying? Like, if we go to tournaments, it's for fun. Like, we know we're not finna win in like a real world scenario. But we're all kind of serious in a like community way. You know what I'm saying? Like, amongst our community, our friends. And then all of the friends that we have are about the same level of seriousness too. You know, so like, it's easy for like, oh, like, Rob's not here, but Kyle is. I can play with Kyle because he's pretty good at this. But once again, he has a job, so he ain't super like crazy, you know. And then, oh, you know, like, Marcus is coming through, and you know, like, I can play with anybody. And that's what Smash was for me. And the closest thing that came to that, but I kind of had to give up on it, was Apex Legends. And what I wanted to mention is that the reason that like Apex Legends was very close to that was because every session was a new session. It didn't matter what I did before or after. The only difference was maybe I got some new equipment to make me look cooler, or I got a different hat or whatever, a different skin. But like, overall, it didn't really matter. It was just more about my skill. And then simultaneously, what Apex has done, which I think is really cool, is they do these like lore drops. Like they make these videos that talk about different characters, and like you get to learn about the universe that is Apex, which is like Titanfall. And to me, I've really liked that universe and that world. It's like kind of cool to me. And so I've been like, oh, I like these little videos. I watch the shorts and animations. They don't really make the game better, you know what I'm saying? But they make me more invested in the game, if that makes sense. And so I kept getting interested, but the problem was they don't know how to make it where I can play with people who are like me, you know. The matchmaking killed it. And that's kind of how I feel about all MMOs. There's just a point where I'm never going to be as serious as the guy who plays all the time, every day, because I have a family and I have friends and I want to live no disrespect to people who love MMOs, but I want to live a real life, you know, and I don't want to miss those moments. And so that means I'm not going to play every weekend. That means I'm just, you know, hey, I'm going to go out of town, whatever. And I feel like in order to keep up with a lot of games, you have to stay on it. Like trying to play with homeboy who, you know, who's been playing, you know, Division 2 for like 5 years. Good luck. Even if you're at the same skill level, it just feels like there's some weird thing that you don't understand that you need to understand. It's the meta, as they say. The meta changes. And I just want to play a game where I can just like Smash. The meta kind of changes, but it doesn't. Like I played this past weekend or 2 weekends ago and I still got hands. I can still get it. Somebody actually said to me, and shout out to all the guys at the wedding. He was like, why are you so good? He asked me that question. And I was like, he's like, do you play all the time? I was like, nah, I used to play all the time back in the day. But the thing is, the game is still the game.
It's
like
the same.
It's the same. And it's not that I'm the best. It's just that I'm still good, you know? So anyway, that's what would keep me in the game. Like, so not too different from what you're saying, Rob. The narrative would be like they could drip feed it to me. But like it had to be something where from session to session, from moment to moment, it doesn't really matter when I come back. It's still the same game, if that makes sense.
Nothing changed like in terms of the gameplay. I guess it's just so you can hop on whenever.
Yeah, there might be new characters and they might have new abilities, but it doesn't really matter because the core of the game is still the same. Like I could just pick up any random character and Smash. And I can still I'll get worked, but at least I'll still know what's going on, you know?
Fundamentally, yeah.
Yeah.
So I have to agree with both of you guys, man. Like, I all the boxes, I'm over here checking them too. Because, I want something I can just jump into that I know will be consistent, won't take too much time, will have something fresh every time I play it, and that I can play with other people. And so whenever you were talking about it, Rob, it's weird because, and then Brad, you touched on it a little bit, but it's like, I think that the genre that's trying to fill this niche is the Battle Royale game.
Yes.
Because it checks most of those boxes. And then the issues that we experienced in Apex. So I've been playing Fortnite for the past like 3 weeks because they had a new season. And I wouldn't put it past them, but like since Fortnite's inception, it's always been like super on point as far as like feedback is concerned. Like they just keep adding everything, no matter what it is, because people want it and it works. Yeah. And so like when we first played Fortnite, Brad, when it first dropped, season 1, and people didn't know how to build, people didn't know what the game was about. Like, what is this cartoony looking Halo knockoff, third person shooter? Nobody want to play this thing. And like playing it 3 weeks, these last 3 weeks now, it's a completely different game because they've integrated into the game. Like when you're playing it, there's story beats. There's different ways to interact with players other than you have to just find them or get snuck, They have this bounty system, which kind of adds a different layer of the game as far as like the stories you can tell, especially if you're with a group that you're with, the different interactions you can do around the world. And then I think the kind of like the magnum opus is this thing that they discovered over the last, I guess, couple seasons is they have real-time world-affecting events. where
Mm-hmm.
that moment that in most games I've played that you were describing, Rob, where a meteor hits Earth and now the gameplay changes and we have to do something about it. That stuff happens in game in Fortnite. Like hundreds of people in these matches see a meteor in real time hit the map and experience it all together.
Yeah.
And it's like, and they've done that a couple times over in different ways, and each way is just as grand as the last. I don't think they're outdoing themselves necessarily, but they have a formula to where people are still really invested. And then after that, like what you guys were saying, the game changes where they add new weapons sometimes. They, of course, add the new skins. But fundamentally, it's the same game that we played, Brad. You know, what was it, 3 years ago? 2 years ago when Fortnite first dropped? Fundamentally, dude, it's that same game. And it's crazy to me because I'm over here like, you know, trying to figure out how I'm going to get out of this game again. But I can't lie. I've been legitimately impressed with how far it's come over the past couple of years.
Wow, that's awesome. Like, I mean, I can't, at this point, I have to give Fortnite its props because they have seemed to come a long way.
Yeah.
But no, it's definitely, what you're describing sounds a lot like what I'm saying. I think I would want something, personally for me, I would probably want something a little bit more mature in the way it looks, and maybe like the narrative. Yeah. Like, that would be I don't know if the battle royale would have to be the I guess the gameplay style, or the like, maybe if it was something a little bit more, I don't know. My brain is trying to create a genre that probably doesn't exist yet, and that's what's the problem.
Hey, when you think of it, man, it's gonna take the world by storm.
You know what really came to mind of me, and I was thinking this. I was like, and I'm really like, from a game development standpoint, I'm like, how do you make this happen? Is what, like, basically creating the experience of watching an anime as it's releasing week to week that's gonna last for the next like 10 years through a gaming experience. Like, imagine if Naruto was a game, right? Like, it has hundreds and hundreds of episodes that are kind of like, sometimes you are out of it and then you just jump back in, but you watch the episodes, you catch up with your friends, but like, you're kind of like traversing this adventure with other people, and sometimes you're not always aligned, but it's always moving forward, irrelevant, and there's always something there. And then eventually one day it all comes together and you feel like you were like, wow, like, I'm so happy I was on this ride. You wish it would go on for years and years and more, and like you'd have more experiences, but for those, I mean, started watching Naruto in 2006. That's when I got put on the anime, like Bleach and everything. And like, me and Rob were watching Naruto together, and like Brandon and my brother, and like that was 2006, 2007.
Yeah.
And it just ended 2018 or something like that. Yeah. So for 12 years we're just watching this anime. Like, it's so hard to explain that, like, something is like ingrained in my life. Like, Naruto is a part of the story of my life. I talk to Rob about this all the time. I remember sitting at his house watching Naruto when Rock Lee fought fought Gaara for that first time. And there's nothing. It's almost nothing like that. Like, for anybody who's never watched Naruto, like, watch Naruto. That's it.
Right. Yeah, that's the moment too.
But like, imagine playing a game that would be with you for 12 years, that's growing with you, but it's the same. It's a ninja world. They do ninjutsu. Like, the rules are pretty straightforward, but it's unraveling its mysteries. It's unraveling. The gameplay is getting more advanced as as more things are happening in the world, but you're still playing the same game. I feel like Fortnite, I was gonna say it, but I was like, I wonder if Kyle will say this. I wonder if he feels this. I feel like Fortnite has the potential to do something like that, but Fortnite, just to be super real, is like, we trying to get that money.
Oh yeah.
So we're gonna pander as hard as we need to. So like, all this story stuff means nothing, because at the end of the day, we're trying to get little kids to get their V-Bucks. And and we're trying to figure out what works. If we have to try to make an MLK version of this, which was just
oh my gosh.
Did you hear about that, Rob? When they
I saw it. It was almost disrespectful.
It was disrespectful. It wasn't almost disrespectful.
I saw them dancing in front of
the memorials.
Like, I was like, what in the world?
Over here doing the Orange Justice, but they had to cut out some of the emotes.
They couldn't do all the emotes. Yeah, that was horrible.
And I was like, they're like, we're trying to teach kids about Fortnite. Like, nah, this is not the time. I mean, about MLK. He was like, you know, the one thing I thought they were going to do, and I don't think they did it, was I thought they were going to drop an MLK skin, and I was like, please.
I thought they were too. No. They probably. I'm sure they considered
such a problem.
They had meetings.
Somebody said, "Let's do it." Yeah, and somebody had to shut.
Somebody. Let's be real. The black dude walked in the room. He was like, "Look, y'all." Y'all need to cut this off.
Like, let this go far enough.
He's like, I'm not. Yes. I'm gonna let y'all do what y'all doing, but you are not putting the skin in this game.
That's MLK.
Somebody's seen the skin. Imagine that there is an MLK skin out there.
It's somewhere. It exists somewhere on somebody's hard drive. You just, it's probably like they'll sue the pants off of you if that ever gets out.
It would have been like the John Wick skin. Everybody would have been running.
Everybody would have
skin.
it. When somebody had the John Wick skin, you knew you was about to get killed. Just imagine getting snuck by MLK in Fortnite.
Doing the Naruto run.
Doing the Naruto run. And then Orange Justice sitting on your body and flossing on you. And you're like, oh no. I had a dream. I had a dream.
The only voice clip in the game.
I have a dream. Wow. I have a dream. Dancing on your body.
Oh my gosh. No, man.
But yeah.
I think that you guys have a good, it's definitely coming together. I can't wait for you guys to make this game. Because it sounds like it's going to be awesome.
We just got to get Peter Molyneux on the phone.
Oh, we just need Peter Molyneux, the Rat King himself, to help us to sell the bill of goods to get that money. Hey, we say this periodically, but me and Kyle have a game. Mm-hmm. We've envisioned this some years back. Mm-hmm. We in the origin story, when it finally drops, God willing, we get to that point and we explain the origin story. It's going to be so funny to people. But what it became is something. We have a lore, we have stories, we have a vision, but we know that we can't accomplish it because we have to work 9 to 5s right now. We ain't got the Skrilla to really do this. And we just need the time and the money to eat food. So
we hungry.
Yeah.
But that could be it. I mean, I'm pretty sure if I were to sit down and talk to Kyle and be like, look, let's make this a real experience where people are going to experience something over the next decade. I think we could do it with,
we'll have Rob on as an advisor.
Yes. Just like, I approve. I approve. Put more MLK into this game. And if MLK was in this game, it would be so disrespectful.
Oh my gosh.
What are you talking about? That's that fire, man.
We can't reveal it until the time. It's so I believe you missed it. And all our fans out there.
The mystery.
No, that sounds like it's gonna be cool. I know you guys will come up with something awesome, especially after playing as many games as we've played over the years and just all the different ideas and thoughts that are running around. That's why it's hard to even say certain, to express what I need an MMO to be, because it's so many different things I can think of that would keep me drawn in. And but it gets all mixed up together with all these dreams of what video game I would want to make, I guess, if I was able to make a game.
Yeah.
I'm still waiting on the true RPG experience when you do have the ability to make the game that suits what you want to play. Because then, that's when you've made that. The role is what you make of it. Because even in these games that have a lot of open-endedness to them and multiple endings and different ways you can play, there's still a lot of boundaries. You have to make decisions within their structure.
Yeah.
So when that game comes, it's going to be crazy.
It's so weird because I feel like that's the kind of Minecraft touched something where it was they created a world where you could do so much in it that theoretically you could build games and like do different experiences. Like people have whole TV shows, you know, on YouTube about Minecraft with characters, and they do things, they go on adventures, and you know, like, and they have this like basically a show. And I'm going to be careful to even mention this, but Roblox is apparently bigger than like like is a billion dollar company, because they've created all these tools where you can create games in Roblox. You can become a Roblox developer. Like people are like, kids are like they're planning when they graduate from high school and college, they're going to be a Roblox developer, if Roblox is still around by then. Don't put your eggs in all those baskets, because you're going to get got. But the idea is creating this ecosystem or whatever where you could create, like, all the tools are basic enough that you could build any type of game in it. And I was like, that's really cool. Like, yeah, if you could make a game that kind of had a, you know, and I think that's something, you know, I guess as we wrap it up here, as I'm just, you know, thinking about it, is like I think one thing that I really appreciate about like you guys, you know, Kyle and Rob, you know, is that you guys are very much open to all game experiences. And you're just like, hey, if it's good, it's good. If it's bad, it doesn't matter what the genre is per se. You know, like, it's just, let me see if there's something here. And I think when you're a student of the game, lack of a better word, you really do get to see all of the different elements of like, oh, like an RPG is good this way, an MMO is good this way, a shooter is good this way, this is this way. And you get to see all these pieces, and it brings together this vision of like, what if somebody really brought all this together instead of making it like, you know, y'all feel me on that? You know?
Oh yeah, most definitely, man. That's something that runs through my mind. Like, just right now, my brain could explode from all the ideas of how you can blend these genres together, and it always seems clearer in my head than trying to put it out. But I just feel that you can do it. I'm a strong believer that if you can think about it, you can create it, and I'm sure at some point you guys are going to make the ultimate video game where it's just like all these layers and genres mixed into one, like all brought together very clearly. I think that's what's the hardest part right now, is just being able to create a game without it getting locked into a genre. Like, I mean, you know, you can be like, what's his name? Death Stranding, where he said he created a new genre.
The Death Stranding genre.
Yes, you have to go that far. Like, I mean, and that's why I'm not mad at him. I feel like he may very well be someone who breaks out into something different because he's trying to do something different.
Striving to be great. You know, I think we're both in that mindset. You know, 'cause something that you've said many times, Brad, that I think about a whole lot, even in day-to-day life, is like, whenever it comes down to things like this, you know, you don't compete, you differentiate. Like, you bring that value. And like, I add that to the second half of my favorite quote, which is, great artists steal. So if you put both of those things together, then that's the formula for success as far as whatever you make, you know.
Yeah, steal everything and act like it wasn't you who stole it. And, you know, wait a second, I'm Peter Molyneux. But anyway, no, but for real, like, I mean, I appreciate that, Rob. Think, you know, having that belief in Kyle and I, you know, like, we still out here developing stuff, goofing off, just trying ideas, and, you know, just seeing what it is. But, you know, once again, we got bills to pay and we got mouths to feed. You know, life is real. But I definitely do. You know, it's so funny, like that quote, you know, like, yeah, don't compete, differentiate. That's what I believe. You know, like, there's so many people doing, like, everybody, you know, to any person out there, just know that, like, you don't have to be, you know, as good as the person next to you. You just need to be the best you, and you'll succeed in whatever you're trying to do. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a Thelonious Monk, who's like a musician, a pianist, said that the true genius is somebody who's most like himself, you know? And I think that's like the key to like these, like making something like a game. Like, I feel like Division, you can feel that they're just trying to be the Division, You know, of course they're trying to like take elements from all the other games, and you know, of course Destiny is out there, which is probably the closest parallel to this, and like, you know, all the stuff. But you could feel the essence of like, we're trying to do something different, but it's familiar. But, you know, also make it last forever. And, you know, some people it's going to resonate with, and some people it's not, you know, and that's what it's all about. So, yeah, man. So, yeah, you know, this is good talking about Division. I definitely love talking about games. I mean, there's so many things we could talk about, like so many experiences, you know, outside of Division. I definitely, you know, I keep petitioning Kyle to finish God of War, because God of War is one of those games that I do believe has something like, you know, I don't know how to describe it. No, I'm still playing through it, you know. You know, but it's longer than every time I'm like, oh, I'm getting close to the end. I'm like, oh, it's still going, you know. And but the story is so cool, and how they really immerse you in this father-son relationship in the midst of this world where something is happening and you can feel it. You know, it's so epic. And when that music comes in, when they do that, like God of War, like that deep, like, oh my gosh, boy, you know, yeah, so when he's cool. Like, you know, and he's getting hyped, you're like, ooh, like I could feel it. Like sometimes I'm like, yo, like I wish I could just cut all of this into like a long movie sometimes and rewatch all those moments, especially when he's about to get hype or something's going down. He's about to go rage mode or whatever. But
Man,
anyway,
you know, somebody made a YouTube compilation.
Yeah, I know they did. But it's such a cool game, and I feel like I love seeing experiences like that, because God of War didn't have to go that direction. They didn't really have to. They could have kept it more in the like campy, just kill a whole bunch of people, just really hard fights. But they really said, we want to tell something different, and we want to pull you into this world. Like it's so cool. It's so cool. I love what they're doing with it. And I didn't realize why people were so hype about God of War 2. You know, I was like, oh, cool. You know, Thor and like different random things, but now I get it.
You see why?
Now I get it. I'm like, oh, I'm starting to see it. So I can't wait till I finish it. So
they so hype over it that there's been some controversy too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What do you mean about the graphics? Like where they feel like it looks like a PS4 game?
Oh, I actually didn't hear that part. No.
Oh, yeah. Some people were upset about that.
Yeah, what was the controversy?
I forgot what color the girl was, but there was just some discrepancy about the color of one of the female characters.
The brown girl who was like some god. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
You know, people always gonna complain about something.
Foolishness.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at God of War as it is, it's definitely its own interpretation of whatever Norse mythology. Like they're really doing something different, and that's why I think it's cool, because it's like, ooh, this is a really interesting way to approach these type of things. I'm not a big mythology person, but I feel like this is kind of cool.
Yeah, it's pretty dope. Yeah, they're mad at Fat Thor, even though that's kind of more closely related to what he was described as. But people had something to say about it.
Ever since the Marvel movies, it's like, no, he got to be swole and look like Chris Hemsworth. You know, like, this is wrong. Where's Chris Hemsworth? Why didn't you use him? You know, but anyway, we could talk about this. But for real, we should, you know, maybe. You know, it'll probably take a while before, you know, we all finish God of War, but maybe we could do another episode in the future where we just break down God of War. Because I think I'm already hype about like just talking about it and getting y'all's perspective about some of the things that happen.
I'm down to play it in 2022.
Yeah,
that game's awesome. Man. You gotta play it, Kyle.
It's surprising. Like I didn't expect.
I'll give it another try.
You know, just get past like. Just accept you're gonna fight some people here or there, but like the story that it tells is really cool. It's really cool. It's something very unique. So anyway, thank you guys for just being on this episode. You know, thank you, Kyle, as always, for, you know, being here from, I guess this is gonna be what, episode like 23 or 24. You
something
know,
like that.
We're getting deep within the double digits. You know, we're gonna hit 100 one day. We're gonna pop off. You know, so but you know, special thanks to you, Rob, you know, for joining us today, you know, with our boy Steve Missing in action. We really appreciate it, you know.
No problem. Y'all have to have me back, man. I hope I can get a ticket to the Naruto Shippuden talk that we must have.
You know, like it might just have to be. I'm telling you, this is, you know, we might have to bring my brother in. It just be me, you, and him, because You know, I don't. The first of all, trying to convince Steve to watch Naruto, it'll never happen.
Oh, I know.
Kyle, I think would do it, but the time.
Oh yeah, I would never catch
you
up.
You haven't watched it? Oh my god!
At the end of 2022, if Kyle started now, you know, but you know what? My sister, you know, she watched like all of the original Naruto like pretty quickly. So if you really got it,
I watched most of the original. So
yeah, like if you got through the original and it's just Shippuden, like I mean, Shippuden's cooking with gas. Once it's going, it's gone. Like
it's going. No, Brad, we're watching. Me and my fiance are currently watching. We've watched it from the beginning, and we're at the Pain arc. And we started in November.
Oh, yes. So, it's the type. It's kind of like it gets you in there, like, you know, Avatar. When you start watching that the first time, it's like you just sit down, you watch 2 or 3 episodes every once in a while, and then all of a sudden you're really far. So anyway,
you're hooked.
That would be great to have us on there. You know, maybe we can plan for that in, you know, toward the middle of the year. But I actually would go back and watch it with Shailene because I know she would love it once she gets into it. So so anyway, thank you, Rob, for being on the show. You know, for everybody who's listening, for our loyal return listeners, I see you, we see you, and we're so thankful for you guys. I cannot thank you enough. We really love doing this podcast. It's become kind of our thing, you know, like at first we were just like, hey, let's do it for fun, but we really love doing this. It's, you know, it's not about money. It's not about clout. It's not about that. But so thank you so much for listening. You know, please go out and follow us on Twitter. We got 7 followers on Twitter, y'all. We big time in it. Snap. We big time in it. You know, like we're just trying to
don't subscribe.
But really, like if you really like what we're doing and you enjoy it, please share it with more people. We definitely want to grow that Super Agile Bros Nation. You know, I've been talking to people and they're like, oh, you have a podcast, and they like what we're talking about, but you know, we're not really trying to pander, I guess you could say, out in these streets. So, you know, like we're not really sharing it with anybody. We're just making it because we love doing it. So if you feel it's like worth a share, please share it. Follow us on Twitter at the SAB Podcast. You'll find us there, just goofing off, dropping memes, and you know, just saying crazy things. But you know, follow us on YouTube, you know, Spotify, SoundCloud. You know, we out here in these streets. Thank you so much, guys, for listening. And as always, we love you guys. Until next time.